So analytics and AI, they go pretty well together these days. Analytics helps us understand numbers and AI helps us to do analytics in the first place. So we're just going to do something in which we use ChatGPT to do a seasonal trend analysis in 2 minutes. Now, before we hand it over to ChatGPT, of course, let's just understand the problem that we are dealing with. Now, you often have sales data in Excel, which looks something like this. You will have dates in one column and you will have values in the next column. And so it's kind of a time series. And the first thing that you might want to do with such data is to plot it, right? Because you want to understand the underlying pattern. You want to see if the sales are doing good or bad, are they going up or down? But if you plot it like this, it doesn't really make much sense. It's all over the place and you can't really understand what's going on. You can call it a time series plot, by the way, because of course, time is on the x-axis, right? So one of the methods to understand such data is called seasonal decomposition. It has a fancy name, but really it's very simple. The theory is that any such time series data is composed of three different distinct components: trend, seasonality, and noise. And if we add them together, we get a series. And you can kind of see this here because the trend is clearly upwards and there is a pattern or a seasonality in there, but it's not possible to sort of see them clearly in their current form. Now, what if you could separate the trend and the seasonality? Wouldn't that be nice? Because then we can look at each separately and make some kind of a conclusion about them. And as it turns out, it is possible to do so. And if you do it, it looks like this. Now, let's just understand what this is, and then we'll track back to how we can make this. So the top graph is the same graph in the previous slides. The data from 2011 onwards, 2010 onwards. It's the same up and down data with a little compressed Y scale. But what we have done is we have taken out the trend and plotted that separately. And now it's much clearer that yes, the trend is going up, right? So it's going from around 52 to around 60-ish. We've also taken out the seasonality, which is much more regular now compared to what you see over here. And you can clearly see a regular pattern in which the sales seem to peak around Q2, Q3, and then dip around the end of Q3 and the beginning of Q4. And it repeats year after year with very good regularity. And then we've taken out the noise. This is the noise or the residual, which was making it hard to reach the patterns in the first place. Now, how did we do this, right? Well, there's a mathematical technique or statistical technique to do this, but the good news is you don't have to know any maths or statistics to do this. You can just produce these graphs quite easily. How do we do it? Well, one way to do it is to use Python. And don't worry, you don't have to do any Python if you don't want to, but this is literally the Python script that will give us the plots that we just saw. It's, if you know Python, it's a short script, but if you're in a hurry and if you know Python, you can of course give it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will indeed do this for you in 2 minutes. Okay, so the first thing to do in ChatGPT is to just give it the Excel file that we just want to work with. And I'm just going to upload it from the computer. It's sitting on my desktop. It's called sales, and here we go. And I just say, do a time series analysis on this, right? That's my prompt. And let's see what it can do. Takes a few seconds for it to load. And yeah, it's looking at the data, it's analyzing it, and it'll soon come back with an answer. Here we go. And for now, it's just describing it. It says it has date and value, which is correct. So it has understood our data, which is a good sign. And it says, I will conduct a time series analysis, including visualizing the trend, checking seasonality, and decomposing the data. Let me proceed. This is exactly what we wanted. And there we are. It's exactly the same graph that we just saw a minute ago. And like I said, at that time, you can use Python to do it. But in this case, ChatGPT has produced the exact same graph in, I think, about 30 seconds, right? So this is exactly the same thing. And of course, you can download these. So you can download the chart, it'll download as an image. You can use it somewhere else. And then it has given us what exactly it has done, right? So the decomposition produces the trend, which is the underlying direction in the data, seasonality, and the residuals. So, so far so good. What else can we do? Well, since you've gotten this far, let's just also ask it to do a forecast. So I'm going to say forecast sales for the next 2 years using seasonal decomposition. Seasonal decomposition is, what it just did. In fact, it is suggesting to perform the forecast for the next 12 months, and that's exactly what I'm asking it to do, except I'm asking for 2 years rather than 1. And let it run that analysis. Again, it's analyzing it. It already has the pattern, and it'll come back to us in a few seconds. There we go. Now it has given us, so there you go. The red line is the forecast, and as you can see, the forecast seems to have a pretty good fit with the underlying trend. And there you go. Now you have a forecast for the next 2 years. So if that's all you want to do, if you want to understand the data, if you want to understand the seasonality and so on, you're done. However, if you want to sort of dig a little bit deeper, you can also look at the analysis that it performed, and what you find is that it actually produces a Python code to do this for us. So it's actually writing the Python code, running it, and presenting it with the results. So if you're trying to learn Python, for example, or if you want to take this and fine-tune this yourself, you can actually literally copy-paste this code if you know Python or if you're learning it, and take it from here and do some further analysis on it. But if that's not your thing, and if you just want to do the analysis, you're done. Under 2 minutes, seasonal decomposition analysis of sales data by ChatGPT.